I'm not sure how many times I try to record this section, the block out. Every time I try to cut something that's solidified from this top orthographic view using Ngon cut from box cutter, my Blender goes into infinite, wheel spin and just buffering and dies. Yeah, so I don't know if it's some kind of add-on conflict or whatever, or something got buggered, but I'm gonna be applying all solidifications because I'm done redoing this for the nth time. It's just retarded. So anyway, what we're gonna do in this one, we're gonna be doing a block out, and we're gonna start with these wheels, and we're gonna actually remove these instances, just nuke them, okay? Because what we need to do, we need to first fix the scale on this wheel, because this wheel is insane. If I'm gonna add a cube here, which is 2 by 2 meters, right? You will see how big this wheel is, and this is just mental. So we need to fix this problem. Make sure that the cursor is in the middle, so Shift S and to origin. And we're gonna add an empty, so Shift A and add an empty and make it bigger, right? And then we're gonna Control I to invert the selection, and then Shift click on this one, and we're gonna go to Control P and Object Keep Transform. And this, for some reason, messed with our array, you see. Interesting. Let's reset the array. And let's run it again. So Q and let's go to Mesh Tools and Control click. And what do we have here? Do we need more or fewer? Fewer of them. Okay, there we go. Boom, and click. Sometimes array gets messed up. The same, when you try to scale something. Also, this one is, you see that? It's kind of protruding slightly here on this side. We need to scale this. So let's grab this and scale it. And if you're going to try to scale this, it will not work. So here too, what we're going to do, we're going to, nuke this array. And we're going to first adjust this. You see that this bit here just pops a bit. And my OCD kicks in and I don't like it. So GX and move it to the right, SX and scale it on individual origins, which is, where is the origin point? There we go, good, in the middle. So SX and scale it, and let me see this now. This should be fine. We could move this a little bit back here to this side and make it just ever so slightly bigger. How are we looking? I'm just trying to find a sweet spot, you know what I mean? It's like with irritating people, okay? You don't want to push them too far because you will ruin all this tension that you've built up. Anyway, this is good, okay? Let's call it a day. So now we're gonna go with Q, and we're gonna go with what you call them, multiply. No, the radial array. So Control click and X, and create as many as you want. Okay, I think this one is fine. Cool, peachy. So that's that, and you want to save it as a new file. Okay, so save as new file. I created a blockout file, so mine is already running. And I'm gonna save, and then I'm gonna run power save. Okay, cool. So now let's select this empty and go to Shift G, and you wanna select immediate children, which is gonna select all the items that are linked to this empty. And we're going to go to add an instance and wheels. Okay, boom. And I'm gonna move this in here. Now, what we can do is leave a gap here like this between these wheels. I think it's gonna be cool. Make sure these are quite close, yeah. So also they should be, spaced evenly. So what I mean is the distance between these two and these two should be identical, right? Now the gap here is gonna be pretty cool because it's gonna elongate the vehicle. Also, it's gonna make it a bit more, less boring and more interesting because it's gonna break it in half and sort of, like break this array. And you're gonna have the front and back, and also if we're gonna do this, two front wheels could be actually turning, so when the vehicle turns, so let's just grab an empty, right? We could have this kind of an effect. Well, in this case it will not work because these are instants, but you know what I mean? These two front wheels would turn and these two at the back would stay constant, or even turn the other way, So now what we can do, we can move it, right? Because we need to make this wider, so we can move it. And these, by the way, these are empties for the instances, so don't worry about them, just ignore them, okay? And next, what we need to do, we need to copy this to the other side, so mirror. So we're gonna add a cube, right? And we're going to mirror this. So click this one, Shift G and immediate children. shift click here, and now be careful, because if you're going to run with a mirror, right, so Alt X, press X to reset it and click on mirror, this part will not get mirrored, this one. And the reason for that is because if you remember the mirror section for HardOps, you need to add another mirror if you want to mirror an object that's been mirrored. So there's a mirror running on this mesh, which at the moment we can't see for some reason. Let me just nuke this. Doesn't really work here. Let me just mirror this. Boom, right? So it mirrors from here to the other side. And in order to mirror a mirrored object, we need to add another mirror. Yes, I know it sounds a bit weird, but that's what you need to do. Okay, so what we need to do is select this one, shift select this one, Alt X, and then press A to add new modifier and then mirror. Okay, that's the only way to do it. Okay, cool. So now we got this, the wheels, and we can just, adjust them to whatever we want with them. Everything is peachy, and now we can start with the blockout. Now, before we do anything, let's actually scale this, right? Because we need to scale them. And in fact, if I'm going to scale them, I'm going to have to redo this distances here, but it's okay. So now before we scale anything, let's bring the reference, the human reference in to the scene, and it's really easy to do it, okay? So go to project files, and my project files are still looking a bit different than yours, because I'm still recording the course, so that's all you see at the moment in project files. But go to project files and grab this file, human size, open it, right? The human size reference, and you want to copy it, so Control C, right, and copy object like this. And if you don't see this menu, go to edit preferences and go to extensions and get the copy attributes menu add-on. Okay, just install it and go here and simply Control V, and let's move them in here. Now you see that the scale is out of whack because this technically is 1.8 meters. Now what you really need to understand, it's really important, okay, the scale itself, as in like how tall the wheels are, it's not important, right? It's completely unimportant. What's really important is the relation between the human and the wheels. So if I'm going to scale the human up to this size, that's gonna look all right to me, right? So the human's a little bit taller than the wheels, but the wheels are, too huge to begin with. So, I mean, if that's a regular cube, this is massive. So we need to scale them down a bit, right? So grab this empty here, right? And simply just, scale it down, and everything gonna follow. And what we want is we want to scale this more or less to, maybe like, I don't know, some 2 meter size or whatever, right? And like I said, it's not really essential to be accurate in terms of, let me just grab this. And by the way, you can't really nuke this because it's a mirror pivot cube. So, we can't really nuke it. But what we can do is convert this one to wireframe. So, shade as wire, right? And there you go. That's fine. And we can just move it whatever. If you move it to wheels, though, you're going to be seeing that here being repeated or arrayed because it's going to be instance, right? So watch, if I'm going to move it to the wheels, we're going to be seeing it here, right? But you can turn it off here and obviously in render, okay? Cool. So now we scale the wheels a bit, but we need to basically, move them back in place, right? Somewhere here. And we're going to be adjusting these, right? So GX and move this here, right? There we go. And, grab these. Or in fact, delete those and just simply, we're going to copy this one, right? So Shift DY and move it here. And then Shift DY and Bob Janko, right? There we go. So now this is more manageable, and kind of more realistic. And obviously we can make this human larger. Like I said, it's not important what's the, the real measurements are not important. What's important is the relation between the human and what you're building, right? So the human needs to fit the narrative, right? So if the human is a bit, let's say, side of the wheels, then the cabin needs to be of a specific, dimensions, right? You know what I mean? So I think it should be a little bit smaller like this. So the cabin's gonna be, kind of hovering over this, these two wheels, and then we're gonna have some stuff in the back. Yeah, so let's just move them in here, and we're gonna add a cube, right? So Shift A and add a cube, and let's move it here, right? So GZ, and we're going to make it larger. So, boom, right? And these wheels, even though we're gonna make it wider, these wheels are still too far apart. So we're going to move them in like that, right? And then we can start fiddling with this thing, okay? So we can make this taller, so GZ, right? A bit taller, and also, I think actually it's fine here. Now this cabin is gonna be a bit taller. There's gonna be another section on top of it, and this section is gonna be a little bit narrower. So when you look at this cabin, you need to look from a perspective of another item being on top of this. So let's not go there yet. But I'm just saying, we're gonna be adding like a roof kind of a thing over there. This could be a little bit too short. Maybe this is better. Remember, this human needs to fit in. We can actually make him smaller to fit the narratives. The wheel's gonna be massive now, yeah, but this fits. So you see, like, what I mean is that, again, it's not important how actually tall he is in terms of Blender scale, because he's actually now way smaller. Actually, no, now it's actually 2 meters. In fact, you know what? We could actually go with like 1.8 meters now. Peachy. So, there you go. So this could be, in fact, a little bit smaller, right? Or we're just gonna basically make this truck tiny bit smaller later on, because we can do it too. We can always adjust this, size of the human, because like I told you before, the actual scale at the moment isn't important. What's important is the relation between all these items, right? The balance between them, because if a human is, huge like this, it doesn't make any sense, or small like this, right? Doesn't matter if it's actually 2 meters or 1.8 meters or 7 meters, So there you go. And the reason why we scale all these elements down is because makes it easier for us to work with bevels, because if you have an object of a massive scale, your bevel's gonna have to be larger, you know what I mean? So, and it's also easier to work with booleans and stuff. Anyway, too much talking. So here, this size more or less would be good. We're gonna have like a doorway here. Boom, there you go. I think that makes sense. Then we're gonna have windows here. I think this is gonna be good. Okay, peachy. So let's go with this, and we're gonna actually cut this up front here. Okay, so we're gonna go to the menu and go to Ngon. Make sure that side click is on, and choose 15 degrees angle. Now this will not be highlighted permanent like these. It's gonna flicker, yeah. So you will see which angle is active, right? Select the cube, and we're gonna run a cut like this, and then simply shift and double click, and you're gonna convert it to live. Don't worry about this cut being a bit messed up. You could fix it with machine tools, so shift click 1, 1. And you can rotate this cutter, holding control, and it's gonna snap to increments. But to angles. But I think, this is gonna be cool. I like that. More or less, this is just a very, very, very rough block out, okay? We're not doing anything serious in here. Now, before we're gonna continue, we need to think about the dimensions, the width, the height, the everything. That's what we're doing here, right? I think this more or less is fine. I'm wondering if these wheels couldn't be closer, just a little bit closer. Like that. Do you know what I mean? And then to close this gap, to make it a bit more kind of compact here. So here what we're gonna do, we're gonna widen this a little bit and bring these wheels a little bit closer, yeah? So here, GX, and just move them in a bit. Maybe somewhere here. Maybe actually this one is cool. Like maybe 1/3 of the wheel, you see? It's underneath. I think it's cool. Okay, cool. Let's just save it because reasons, right? Now we're going to grab this back here, okay? And go to Q, and you're gonna shift click on curve extract to solidify this bit here, okay, to the back. And by the way, if you want to adjust the solidification, you don't have to go here. You can do it from the modifier menu. So it will not add another solidify. You simply adjust it. You see on the tooltip, adjust solidify modifier, boom, yeah. So it's really convenient, right? So we can, change the width of it or length of it. And I think maybe a little bit shorter is going to be fine. There we go. Okay, so now let's add the plane. So let's add the plane, move it up here somewhere, and scale it on y-axis like this. So you can make it longer, doesn't matter. And apply scale, okay, this is important. In fact, let's make it a bit wider before we do this, okay? And then let's apply scale. Control A, apply scale. The reason why we're applying scale is because solidification modifier will not apply scale, unlike, Boolean or something, right? And we're gonna solidify it down a bit like this, okay? Cool. Now let's bring it up so it sort of sits here on top. What I really want to do is I want to make sure that these two are of the same width, right? So we're going to grab a cube, and we're going to slice them both, yeah? So select them both and slice them. And then we're going to mirror them. So, Alt X and Alt X, okay? Peachy. So there you go. Let's move this one a little bit here so we can see the gap, right? And now this one needs to be a bit smaller, yeah? Now in order to scale it down, we're gonna go to local view, go to edge mode, grab this one, shift S, move cursor to edge, go back, right? Go to object view and scale it on the cursor. So go here and cursor, boom, right? And we want to make this a bit smaller, so on all axes like this. It's gonna be kind of like a, you know, sort of a, I don't know, some kind of a unit behind this thing. For now, you know, this is good, okay? We're gonna grab this and move it here, and we're going to actually scale it down, so as Z. We have still the cursor scaling active, which is perfect. And we're gonna add a cylinder. Now don't worry about the, you know, number of verts or anything like that. This is just a placeholder for now. So let's just switch it back to individual regions, or hold control to snap it to angles, and, you know, do this, run a sharpen, so it's gonna be smooth. Move it somewhere here, and let's just make it a bit, I don't know, maybe smaller and longer. We're gonna think what to do with it later, yeah, but something like this here. And obviously we need to move it to the side here. And same with this one, let's scale it on x-axis, right, and move it to the side here, right? So, you know, somewhere here, right, for now. And we're gonna mirror them, so select them both, shift click this one, alt X, and mirror. And let me see. So far so peachy. Now this one is a little bit too far, I think. Should be somewhere here, closer. We're gonna be cutting this and then expanding, I mean not expanding, but adding another plate on top of it. So shift D this one and put it on top here, like this, right? And move it forward a little bit, maybe here. And then we're going to scale this on x-axis, but in order to do that, you'll need to nuke the boolean. So just nuke the boolean, because boolean was, you know, copied the modifier, and the boolean is still stuck in this position because it's parented to this object. We didn't use uniquify because we don't really need that boolean, right? So just nuke it. And we're gonna go to top view, and now I'm going to save this because for real, I've been re-recording this so many times now. I have a PSDT, you know what I mean? So now let's see if Blender gonna crash again on me. So D and gone. And I'm gonna cut it here like this. So it didn't crash this time, interesting. And let's just cut it like this and slice it. Now it's a bit jaggedy here, so we're gonna move it. So Q, ever scroll, and we're going to grab this bit here and simply extrude it like this, right? So there you go, and Shift 2. Awesome. Now this one should be a bit shorter, so go to edit mode, Alt Z to enable X-ray, and G, Y, and move it here. And we're going to move it somewhere, I would say maybe somewhere here. So it's kind of maybe behind the wheel, maybe even deeper, you know, maybe even deeper, like here. Just together, I mean, on the same kind of a height as this, right? And this one's gonna be longer, so D, cut, and, you know, and just slice it here like this, okay? Boom. It's a little bit too long. Let me just grab this, have a scroll, GY. That should do. We're gonna work on this later, okay? Cool. Now the front, let's cut this here, so just cut it. And we're gonna add another cube on the bottom and drop it down, and we're going to make it longer, okay? Now it's a little bit too deep, so let's just slice this, and then we can adjust this one here, you know, whatever we want to do here. But I'm thinking like maybe close to 2/3 from the bottom, yeah, so 1/3 full and 2/3 empty. You need a lot of clearance for this vehicle, but at the same time you don't want it to make it look weak. So we're gonna readjust it in a minute if we need to make it a bit wider, right? There we go. And what we're gonna do is we're going to incorporate the, we're gonna kind of make space for the suspension to be attached to this bottom, you know, thing. Go to N-gon, and we're going to slice it. Now let's slice it at this angle, and then we can just think about what to do with this angle later on. G, Y, and move it a little bit here, right? And let's see how we're looking. We're looking peachy. This one should be cut at the same angle as this. So what we could do is run a cut here like this and like that, okay? And the angle gonna be a bit different. Space, and you're good to go. Nice, I like that. Okay, so this is, this is going places slowly. This one could be a little bit narrower. So what we could do is go to Everscroll, recover this cutter, and GX and move it in a bit and forward a bit. Okay, so or like G Shift Z, and then you can adjust it, you know, on this two axes here, so Y and Z, and make it a little bit more narrow, something like that. That's gonna be interesting. Now here, I would like a dip. So what we could do is you could grab this one and add some stuff to it. So let's go to edit mode. So now here, what we could do is apply the booleans. We can't do it in edit mode. Go to object view and apply these two booleans, but keep the solidification. Control R. Can we drop a Control R here? Why? Oh, it's a mirror. Apply the mirror too. Okay. Then we're gonna drop a Control R here. Okay, let's just split it. Then let's go back. There we go. So here, let's just make it longer. So SY, right? Then G and move it on Y-axis to the front. Perfect. Grab another loop here in the middle and then split it. And then what we're gonna do is gonna bring it down, G, Z. Now remember, you can hold Control to snap these two angles. We could make it really shallow, kind of aggressive, right? Or really deep. But what we want is, I mean, ideally, you know, we could just have the same angles in the front, yeah? So, like this, right? The only problem is we would need to make this a bit more narrow. So let's see if this is gonna work. So Alt Z, B, and select this one, and then GY and move it to the front. And this one, we're gonna select it and move it to the back, right? So we're gonna have something like this here and have a look in. Let me see this one more time. A bit closer here, there we go. Well, let's keep it for now. Let's see what's gonna happen, right? Now this one, let's go to Everscroll and see this top cut. Does it exist? It doesn't exist. Okay, so we're going to expand it up. So G, Z, and move it up. So we're gonna get this filler here on the front, and so we need to move this cutter in the back. So let's grab this one, and let's grab this the two bits here in the back, and we can actually flatten it with machine tools. Watch, Alt A down, and then we're gonna move it up, yeah, so like this, you see what I mean? So there you go, and this is gonna cut this back here perfectly. Okay, peachy. And now let's move this guy a bit to the left. Now we need to fix the front. So the front, what I was thinking is to go to N-gon cut and repeat this. Let me see, there's a cyclic. Make sure this is turned on, because otherwise you're gonna be running a solidified cutter. You don't want to do that. Let's run a cut here like this, and you know, see what's up. Like this for now, and then let's just recover it. And GZ, right, and move it here with Shift. Boom. Okay, and then go to Edit View, and then Alt Z and B. Then we're going to Alt A this, right, and then we're gonna move it here. Okay, see how these tools are working together, how fast this goes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Add-ons. Add-ons. Okay, so this looks good. This is gonna be, by the way, this is gonna be cut here like this, but you know, not yet. Okay, we're gonna come to this in a minute. So in fact, let's do it now. So in order to, what I want to do, by the way, is I want to, you know, scale this inside. But in order to do this, we need to run another save just in case. But we need to actually apply the boolean. So let's apply the boolean, and we're gonna go to Edit View. And what in the fuck are these lines here? In fact, now we could use these verts. Select them both, Shift select this one, and Alt A and top. They're gonna align perfectly, so we don't have to use a knife, we can just use J. But if you don't have these in the back, what you can do is just grab a K, knife, K, A, C, and cut through, okay? So use whichever you prefer. Connect them here to the back, PG, and then with this one in place, we're gonna select these two faces on the top and SX and scale it. But let's go, because we need to, you know, back to the view here, because we need to see how far we want to go, right? So that's really important. I think that's good enough for me. And I'm going to select this entire loop with Alt and run a bevel on it, right? Just make it generous, so it's going to be nice and smooth. It's a structural bevel, you know, so. And here too, okay? We need a bevel here too, right? Like this. Okay. I think this will do, and we're going to mirror it, and then we're going to recalculate sharpen, because you see we have these sharp edges here. So Control Shift click on sharpen build. In fact, What we could do is remove the sharpen, decrease B weight and sharp from sharpen. So when I'm going to be sharpening stuff, it's not going to get applied, especially that now Smart Apply doesn't, apply smooth by angle, which, that was terrible idea, but, it's working now fine. So anyway, let's cut this one here like this. Okay, again, for some reason, the cyclic was on. I don't know why it's turns itself on for some reason. Maybe it's haunted or something. Well, let's do it like one more time. Let's run it again here like this and press space. Okay, there we go. And then let's grab this cutter and let's work on this. Okay, so let's just drop it down a bit here, right? And let's see how this looks. Peachy. So now this one should be moved to the right. So let's go to Alt Z and let's select this and then GY and move it here. Okay, so we're gonna get this nice opening here in the front. Cool. How we looking? Hey, we're looking pretty good. Now, in order to fix this shading here, what we could do, I gotta be careful. Shift click on sharpen, see? It's going to adjust the auto smooth value from 60 to 30, which makes a bit more sense. Now, let's work on this one, yeah? So let's apply this, okay? Operation Smart Apply. And let's also power save this. And what we want to do here, we want to, first of all, we want to move it up a bit. So it's actually on top here. There we go. And I'm thinking that maybe we could run a loop here like this in the middle. And I want to run a bevel on this, but I don't know how far I want to bring this in. So you know what we could do is run a Q and Control Mark bevel. And then for this to work, we're going to have to nuke these edges, unfortunately. So let's just nuke these. So dissolve. Grab this one again, right? And now go to Q and Control click on Mark. Press Z so you can see that. And we can more or less, run a bevel here like this. Now the advantage of this is that when you're going to be actually moving these, you see, the bevel going to adjust with it, right? See that? The bevel will readjust. So now just let's align this. In fact, what we could do is grab these two and go to local view, and well, it's perfect. You could just finesse this here if you wanted to, and play with it. I'm fine with it. And you see this bevel's gonna readjust with us. In fact, we can still adjust it. You see, watch. Right. So if I went to, for example, meshed settings and wireframe, I can actually see that bevel here, right? Being adjusted, right? So, I could make this wider. So Q bevel and just make it wider, right? See what I mean? To kind of match it, without borrowing this, yeah. So again, let's go back here to settings and wireframe. Cool, so let's mirror this, right? And Bob's uncle. And then we could just chamfer this, right? So chamfer this here, and I think for now I'm good. Okay, now we can start slowly adding bevels, okay? So we can see, so let's set the bevel here, a tiny one. We need to fix the profile here, you see. So Q bevel 1, right? And make it smaller, okay? And Alt click on sharpen to add weighted normals. Now normally we could copy this, or we could just select multiple objects, right? And bevel them at the same time. So bevel. And now you can't go to difference, be careful. You have to go to operations and here, sharpen, alt click, boom, weighted normals. Now every single object is gonna be beveled in the same way, okay? In fact, this one wasn't beveled for some reason. What we can do is bevel this one manually, press 1, and sharpen. And we can adjust these bevels, later on, but it just helps us to see the silhouettes a bit better, right? This one could be a bit shorter, so let's go to operation modifiers and solidify. We could do something like this here. Or what we could do is actually move it outside here like this on the end. I think it's going to look better. See, like when you're doing this, you always have to look at the overall kind of balance. Here, by the way, we need a rooftop, so shift click on curve extract and move it up. And I think this will do maybe a little bit taller, right? And then we're going to apply this. So operation smart apply. Now be careful with smart apply, not applying structural bevels. So, just saying be careful, yeah? And here what we could do is GY and hold control. This should snap. If it doesn't, Just adjust it manually to more or less, you know, kind of follow this angle here, and the back should be fine. The bevel on the top could be a little bit larger, just for shits and giggles, and you know, there you go. And this one, I think it's fine. Could be a little bit taller though, but you know, not much. Yeah, so we could just grab this bottom face here and bring it down. Yeah, so you know, GZ, boom, right there we go. Now, in addition to this, what we're gonna do is grab this and we can actually solidify this. So solidify it here and run one kind of a cube here, and then I want another one. So Shift D, Shift Z here, and we're going to actually scale it on x-axis and bring it in, right? So bring it somewhere here, but I'm going to solidify it here like this, and then Shift DY, and I'm going to solidify this one, make it shorter, right? Narrower and a bit shorter. So let's go to edit mode, Alt Z, then B, and then just drop it down on Z axis, okay? Kind of like this. So you see like you got interesting kind of a puzzleage in here, you know what I mean? Puzzleage, it's a very important word, puzzleage. These bevels are messed up here, we need to fix them. Bevel 1, bevel here. Select this one, Q, bevel 1, Q, bevel 1, there we go. And this one, you can't add bevel, right? Because we have a bevel running on it. So if you add a bevel, you're just going to be adjusting the one that exists. What you want to do is you want to press Control, yeah, to add another bevel. So watch, Q, Control, click on bevel, boom, and then you have another bevel. And now press 1 to adjust the profile. And if you press Q, you can adjust either this one or this one, okay? So again, Q, Control, click on bevel, and Bob's your uncle, okay? That's how you do it, right? Peachy, I think this looks badass. That's how it looks, okay? This looks really, really, really cool. Now these should be a bit closer here, so let's go to B and Alt Z and then B and select this and then this, B, right? And then move them, Alt Z again, G, X, and move them here, okay? And I think it's gonna be good. All right, Peachy. All right, so how are we looking? How are we looking? Yeah, we're looking really beautiful. So now you see, the key of creating a good blockout, right, is to create a balance between all the elements. And when you have balance between all the elements, you can do anything you want with that model. Blockout is something you should devote 100% of your attention and care to. Because when you have a really, really good blockout, then you can build anything on it, right? I mean, anything. This human, for example, is well proportioned, except for his ass. I think he lost it. But other than that, you know, it's a decent proportion, you know, limbs, head, whatever, whatnot. The neck is a bit wide, but, you know, there you go. But, you know, if it was, let's say, you know, of these proportions, something would be off. It's a chimpanzee right now, right? So what I'm saying is that once you have a blockout like this, you know, a base mesh, you can build anything you want on it because anything you put on this is going to look balanced. You see what I mean? So when I'm going to start refining this, it's going to look awesome because the blockout is well balanced. So you need to really spend time on blockouts. And what the fuck has happened to my wheels? They got mirrored from the top to the bottom. Hang on, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, let's nuke this mirror. Are we good now? Yeah, be careful with mirrors, because if you apply this, I mean, you're gonna be in a world of pain. And granted, we have a file, separate file with the wheels saved up and all that, but, you know, just saying. Cool. Thing with Peachy now. That was weird. Another thing, you know, later on, when we're gonna be just, you know, in the later stages, we're gonna misalign these, yeah? So we're gonna just, you know, grab one wheel and rotate it, and kind of make sure that they're not aligned or arrayed in the same kind of, you know, in the same pattern, because that's gonna look boring. You need to make it more interesting. So they, you know, for the render we're gonna have some fun, yeah. But you know, now let's just look at these canisters at the back for a while, and you know, let's see if we can just do something in here. Maybe this should be a little bit taller. Maybe I'm just saying. Let's go to edit mode, select these two and GZ, right? And see this one. Maybe that's a bit better. You know, a bit more weight at the back. I think that's cool. In fact, what we could do is give a bit more space here. So select these, and let's just solidify them inwards like that. So, you know, a person can actually get here in the back and work. So maybe this should be a little bit narrower. So Q and solidify. Move it further, I mean, kind of deeper here and somewhere here. And this should be, placed like that. How this will look. This is a little bit too tall, I think, now. Should be a little bit less tall. GZ, move it down. That's kind of interesting. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make enough space for a human to get in here, kind of squeeze in, and maybe there's going to be some terminal or something. Do you know what I mean? So, you need to have access to for maintenance, right? I think we're good. I think we're good. I really like it. Another idea would be to nuke the mirror and put just one in the middle. Like a terminal here, you see? This could also be interesting. Or make this one longer. So nuke this one and, expand this one deeper here. That's another, kind of a solution. So you get like a, I don't know, like a research hub here or something, right? And in fact, this could be a little bit taller, so GZ and move it up a bit. But then when you do that, you will need to collapse these to fit this angle here, right? So you could do something like this. This is also a possibility, right? Another one, I'm not sure which one I prefer. Let me just go back here. Shit, I think I prefer this one. It's kind of like a nice cascading effect going down. There's a void space, and there's the beautiful negative space here cutting into this, and then kind of like a proper cryptograph. You know what I mean? The chart going down and recovering. That's what I want to see when I'm looking at my Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So maybe this one. Maybe, in fact, what we could do, another thing we could do is, well, the thing is that the entrance to this could be through the cabin inside, you don't have to go outside, but this terminal could be outside. Yet, I think this is cool. I like that. I like that. I like that. There could be some kind of terminal here, so we could just grab these and GZ and hold, like, we can't do it. Let's just apply this, so multiply, right? And so grab these, GZ, and hold control. Not gonna work. The snapping is a bit off, but we could just snap it somewhere here like this, and create a terminal here in the back, right? This could be interesting, but we can do this later. But this is cool. I like that. But for now, let's just stick to the regular ship. Anyway, that's it for the blockout. I think this is good, looking really good. And in next video, we're gonna start refining, where things are and where things go, because we're not done yet. We need to work on this, and then place some windows and start refining the front here, and start rearranging stuff, and sort of consider where we're gonna place things. This one also, shift click on sharpen and then move your mouse to the right to shade it properly, and add weighted normals because the shading is off. It's important, right? And the bevel needs to be fixed, so bevel and 1. And this can be a bit wider because remember, this is this is a massive kind of a structural beam made of probably steel or something, so it can't be too feeble. Yeah, can't be too feeble. That looks good. I like it. Cool. All right. Well, I'll see you in the next video.